Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting a bit of feedback. Welcome. Is that right? Welcome to the meeting of Georges River Local Planning Panel for the 15th of September 2022. My name is Stephen Davies and I'm the chair of the panel today. The panel is currently streaming from the council office in McMahon's Street, Hurstville. The panel members who make up the panel today are Nicholas Skelton, expert panel member, Anthony Hudson, expert panel member, and Erin Summers, being the community representative on this panel. We are the panel who have been appointed by the Minister for Planning to determine specified development applications, including the development applications that are on the agenda today, in accordance with the requirements of the Environment Planning and Assessment Act. The panel acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which this meeting has been broadcast as that of the Vichikal people of the Eora Nation. I'm required to advise you that under the provisions of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, this meeting is being live streamed and will be made available on Council's website. In accordance with the revised meeting protocols during COVID-19, interested parties wishing to make representations to the panel were requested to register a summary of their interests. A total of 2 registrations were received and forwarded to the panel today. The panel have reviewed their registration and advised the council office they wish to hear oral submissions from the following persons who will be called in due course during the course of this meeting in order of the items as published on Council's website. We have 2 speakers today. The first will, in regard to 2A Woodlands Avenue, Lugano. The first is Russell Green, and the second for the same item is Warwick Gosling. The panel have received a completed assessment reports from Council staff. We did originally have 4 development applications before us, but I will notify that we have resolved that DA 2021-0465, 5 Mona Street, Allawah, has been deferred from this meeting due to administrative matters. If you're present online for this matter, this will not be heard today and you will be advised in the future of a future agenda. We will deal with each application, the other 3 applications in the order as published on Council's website, being DA 2020-0460, 2A Woodlands Avenue, Lugano, which was a boundary adjustment, subdivision of 2 lots. We'll then go to DA 2022-0185, 19 Cecil Street, Hurstville Grove, alterations and additions to a dwelling, and DA 2021-0473, 245 to 247 Rocky Point Road, Ramsgate, demolition works and construction of a mixed-use development. As required by the Local Planning Code of Conduct, panel members are required to disclose any conflicts of interest in respect of any matter on the agenda for a panel meeting. The relevant forms as prescribed by New South Wales Department of Planning have been completed, and a table for council to be included in the online minutes of the meeting. No panel member has disclosed a conflict of interest in any matter on today's agenda. As we progress through the matter on the agenda, only those persons who have registered to speak will verbally be able to make representations to the panel. Each person who has registered to speak is requested to limit their presentation to 3 minutes. We may ask questions in addition to that. I would ask those persons that are invited to speak to the panel via Teams that they speak clearly and of a volume that will project into the speakers to assist those viewing in the live streaming. To manage the live streaming process, all speakers should leave their camera and microphone turned off until their turn to speak is called. At this time, I remind those persons of any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive language used may result in the author being exposed to a liability for which council and the panel take no responsibility. Once we've heard from all the oral submissions on a particular application, we'll move on to the next application. Members of the public are free to continue to listen to the broadcast. The determination of the application will be made in a closed session, which is not live streamed or recorded. The determination will be available on Council's website once confirmed by the panel, and usually within 2 to 3 days of the meeting being upheld. We'll now call the first item, which is 2A Woodlands Avenue, Lugano, and we can hear from the first speaker, Russell Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Russell Green. I'm the applicant, and I also live at the subject property with my family, and which we have owned for over 14 years. I have read the report and would like to discuss a few issues in relation to the subject development application as follows. Firstly, there's been an ongoing issue in relation to access to our property from Taylor's Reserve. As a result of several meetings, which included the previous General Manager, the current Acting General Manager, Council Directors, Council Officers, we were advised to lodge an amendment to our subdivision based on the fact that Council would provide access off Taylor's Reserve to our property in the form of a sealed road and provide an entry width of 4.5 metres. We proceeded to do this in good faith. As you may have seen on your site inspection, this work has been constructed and is in the process of being finalised. This fact is also supported by several emails, letters and the construction plan on page 131 of the report. As a result of these discussions, amended plans were lodged with Council on the 22nd of July 2022. Secondly, I think it's very important to highlight that there are already 2 allotments of land, and the proposal only seeks to carry out a boundary adjustment and retains the area of land where a dwelling can only be constructed. Both proposed lots also comply with Council's minimum lot site requirements. The issue of a building envelope has also been raised, but it is quite clear from the size of the lot being 550 square metres and the levels of the property that a substantial dwelling can be built without adversely impacting on the trees. It should be noted that under the exempt and complying legislation, a dwelling can be constructed up to within 3 metres of a protected tree and a driveway within the 3 metre zone at grade. And we far exceed these requirements for this proposal. On the 2nd of August 2022, I met Council's Senior Landscape Officer on site. I asked her about providing an updated arborist report, and she advised me that it wasn't required, and the only issue and concern she had was in relation to the proposed driveway, and that she was happy that this could be resolved through a condition. To my surprise, this was not raised in the report. In relation to the significant trees, we are very mindful of their importance as they are a landscaping feature of our property and we certainly want them retained. In relation to the drainage plans, we lodged an amended design on 22nd of July 2022 by our stormwater drainage consultant. On 23rd of August 2022, I spoke to Council's Manager of Drainage and was advised that her section had provided comments regarding the stormwater and to contact the assessing officer to obtain those comments so that I can get my stormwater engineer to address them. I did do this, however, I was advised that the application would be going to the LPP and that I would be notified, and that was all I was able to get back from Council. So subsequently, I was then notified of the report, obviously recommending refusal. I think it's important to note that the DA has been on hold as a result of the access issue. The access issue has only recently been resolved, and it would appear that after lodging the amended plans as requested by Council, which resulted in a major change to the access arrangements, that we have not been afforded an opportunity to respond to any issues with these new plans. I'm now faced with a refusal, which I consider totally unreasonable. The application is for a boundary adjustment and the issues raised can easily be resolved, and it is requested that the panel consider these issues in making their decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We might hear from Mr. Gosling. Is he with you as your expert, or?
No, he's contactable on the phone, I believe.
Oh, okay. I think we'll hear from Mr. Gosling, and then if you both stay on, we can. I'll see if there are any questions in relation to this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gosling, you may wish to address us at this time. Laurie Gosling.
Press *6, it'll unmute your phone.
If Mr. Gosling is not there, then I will refer to the panel here and see if we've got any questions for you, Mr. Green, and panel members.
Just going to look up for a second. Sorry, Mr. Green. I was just going to ask you, you mentioned that you think the access issue is resolved, whereas we understood that there might have been some discussions, but I don't understand that there's a full resolution between you and the council yet. Why do you say it's resolved?
I say it's resolved in the sense that the only reason that the amendment was done was at the request of council to amend my subdivision application in lieu of them providing the access, and the fact that they've actually separately extended the road across my property, and we've got correspondence and emails and a construction plan to show that. So it's clear, and I'm fairly certain that council officers would tell you the same thing from the dealings I've had with them.
But I don't think you've actually got a formalised agreement yet. I think the other owners, for example, just next to you and a few down, all have formalised agreements, and they've been involved in settling a deed with the council, because obviously to have access over a council reserve like this, you're going to need a formalised process. And unfortunately, in the LEP, there's a requirement that this access issue has to be resolved satisfactorily, which means a deed, or at least very close to a deed, before this panel or the council could determine your development application. So we're stuck until that issue is resolved.
Well, that's very interesting, because I've been guided by council on this whole matter, and that's obviously news to me in that regard.
Well, look, I don't want to debate with you. I'm not sure that that's correct, but it doesn't matter. The point is, you have to get to that position, and I suggest that you may need to have some further discussions with the council, because they need some. Not only that, they also need some more information about your drainage, and they also need some more information about exactly how the turning circle would work for, assuming the access issue per se is resolved. They would also need some further detail about how that manoeuvrability of the cars is going to occur. So I think they've told you that a few times in some letters.
The latest plans were lodged on the 22nd of July, so what's that, just under 2 months. And I have not received, since amended plans were lodged, because the access has totally changed. It used to be a big access handed down our driveway. So this is a whole total new plan, and we have not had any feedback from the council since I lodged the amended plans. It just went straight to the panel. Well,
unfortunately, we're here now with the information we have, and unfortunately it's not enough yet, for the reason I said, that there's an actual clause in the LEP that prevents this panel from probably making a decision that you want.
Yeah, well, that's I can understand that. I mean, surely there must be some scope, based on what I've said, to seek a deferral of the matter, so I can have further meeting and discussions with council.
Well, I think that we will consider that in our deliberations as to the way we can move forward on that. And also, there are other. This is not the only issue. There's also the issue in relation to impacts on the significant trees, which we still don't believe have been resolved, and the drainage plan in relation to the site as well by a qualified drainage engineer. So there are a couple of things here that we feel need to be resolved before we can make a decision.
Yeah, well, in relation to the drainage engineer, I mean, we did have there's issues in the report which I believe are untrue, because we have lodged drainage plans from a proper drainage engineer. So that comment, yeah, is not true. with this latest set of amendments.
Okay, we will discuss that with the council in due course. But are there any other questions from panel members at the moment? No. And is there any other comments you wish to make before we move on to the next matter?
Oh no, it's just unfortunate. I'm not sure if you've been able to get onto my consultant planner, but he just texted me and said that the lady advised him to press *6, but which he's done, and he said it didn't take him off mute.
Okay, we will give him a call, because I'd like you to have that we have all the information from your side of it before we make a determination. So we'll give him another try. Just one moment.
Okay, appreciate that.
Mr. Gosling, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Okay, we can hear you. You can now address the panel.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry for those technical difficulties there. I could hear everything that was said, which is helpful. So it'll allow me sort of to narrow down some of my discussion. But, my name is Warwick Gosling. I'm a town planner, registered planner at DFT. About 26 years of experience in consulting and in councils. This way, I've been engaged by Russell Green to firstly assess the development application, review the report, and then if I could support the application, then to speak on his behalf. So in my mind, this is the application itself is quite a simple application. It's just complicated by the laneway issue, and our understanding from speaking with Mr. Green that he was of the opinion that the laneway issue had been resolved, and that bears true from the actual construction of the laneway, which does provide access to that proposed lot 2, but denies the access to lot 1 where that existing garage was. Now the existing 2 lots on the site, so the application is for a boundary adjustment, as you would understand, and the application will remove a very inefficient 2-lot subdivision to an exceptionally efficient application, which provides much better opportunity for a building platform to be provided on lot 2. The application that that shows that there's a building platform of 220 square metres, which is clear of the trees, with a fall of approximately 1 metre. I've read the report in relation to the drainage plans. Council says there is insufficient information. I'm advised by Mr. Green that he had submitted a drainage plan, and I could only assess that. The council has seen that to be unsatisfactory. But if you look at the practicalities of it, that building platform is on the highest part of the site, and the proposed easement through lot 1 is all downhill. And it would lend itself, in my opinion, that there would have to be an engineering solution that would allow the building platform area or new dwelling house to be drained. And if the applicant hasn't provided that information, then I would imagine that a qualified drainage engineer would readily find a solution to that. In relation to the trees, the building envelope is clear of that large Angophora tree and the other trees on the site. And stand from reading the report, there's now an issue raised in relation to the proposed driveway out to the laneway. That is a new issue that has occurred with the amended plans, which could only be lodged in July of this year, after Mr. Green thought that the access to lot 2 had been agreed to by council. and as he has advised me and he's explained to you this evening, that he hasn't had the opportunity to provide that additional arborist information, and I understand that he's willing to have that undertaken. This application has been in for a while, and I can understand the council would want to determine it. However, there's been a fundamental change in the application once in May, June, when Mr. Green was of the opinion that council had given him access to the roadway, to the laneway, and which is why he's then amended his plan to reflect that, which, in my opinion, has made a significant improvement to the layout of the lot. So it's my recommendation and request to the panel that that this application be deferred to allow what seems to be quite readily remedied issues to be resolved. And if Mr. Green needs to enter into a deed with the council in relation to the access to the road, I would imagine that would have to be achievable, given that the council has redesigned the laneway to provide a physical access to Lot 2. To refuse the application at this point in time would result in a lot of work that has been done in relation to the roadway being lost, and for what purpose? There's an opportunity now to have these matters resolved, and it's really only been since July this year that this amended application has been assessed. So that's my summary and submission to the panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just ask the panel members here if they've got any questions.
So yes, Chair, I've got some questions about trees. If you could answer them, that'd be great. So, from which direction do you understand the access is likely to come from?
Yeah, to Lot 2.
Yeah.
So the access from Lot 2 is coming from the park roadway.
So I'm looking at a plan called Building Envelope Setbacks, dated July 2022. So it's got handwritten red writing on it. Do you have that one?
So that's the building one. Yes, yep. And the one below it is the actual proposed plan of subdivision. The last page in the in that particular report is the one that shows the proposed lot boundaries. Because it's difficult to see on that red one where the actual boundaries are.
So on this red one, it appears that the driveway only allows cars to come in from, I presume it's a southerly direction.
From southerly direction, from...
So if you have the handwriting facing the direction so you can read it,
yes,
I'm assuming that up is north. Oh, yes, there's a north arrow on it.
Yes, yes.
So do you see the driveway that's drawn on there?
Yes, yeah.
So it seems to indicate that the cars will be coming from the south and entering the property from the southerly direction going north.
That's correct, yes.
Is your understanding that when the access is eventually sorted out, it'll be from the other direction? So we lost you there for quite a few minutes. Sorry, Mr. Gosling. So
right. Oh, sorry. So if you look on how the access works, in the red area, you'll see the notation that says turning bay.
That seems to straddle both new lots.
Yes, that says turning bay, and there's a square which is noting a garage in the building platform. So a car would drive in sort of from the west and turn into to the south into the garage, drive in, it would then reverse out into that turning bay to enable it to drive a car to exit the site and then drive in a westerly direction along the new roadway.
Okay, there's a dimension put on there of 3 meters from that tree trunk. Do you see that?
Yes.
So if the cars are coming from the northerly direction, they won't be able to make that turn. So they'd have to go within that 3 meters. Is that right?
3 meters. Three. Yeah, well, it's the 3 meters is understood. It is from the tree to the edge of the driveway.
That's right.
Which is the requirement of the council. And I'd suggest if it's quite common for a condition of consent that requires the hand digging of the hand excavation for that driveway, and for root protection measures to be employed. And it can even have strict foundations for the driveway if it's found that there is a root that needs to be retained. But yes, the driveway does go to 3 meters of that tree.
Okay, if it's a complying development, if it's not a complying development, it'll need an arborist report, and an arborist report on a tree with a trunk that diameter will be, the tree protection zone will be in excess of 3 meters. So what I would suggest that in any future application that you have an arborist report accompany the application, particularly to sort out that issue around that driveway and that tree.
I would. It's my recommendation. That tree needs to stay, in my opinion. It's a significant tree, and it needs to stay. And just, I'm not an arborist, but I've read many arborist reports, and they would need to look at what the critical root zone was, structural root zones. They look at the percentage of the impact of that root zone to determine whether or not the driveway would be suitable. Now, the thing in this application, it is a driveway, so there isn't that deep an excavation required. I think that it is appropriate for an arborist to provide information for that driveway.
So in any future application, could you please provide an arborist report to address that tree and that driveway, but also how the stormwater pipe trench and those trees along the western boundary, how that is all going to work as well? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all our questions, and we appreciate the time that you've put into this and your explanations. We will now retire and deliberate on all 3 applications before us. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for returning my call and giving me the opportunity, because through the technical difficulty. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.